Hey y'all, Theresa here. Just want to check in on my week 40. I believe it's 43 or 44. I don't even know what day it is right now. I'm surprised I'm even getting this video in today because I think it's Wednesday. But it's Wednesday, May 22nd, 2013. And just a quick report on my weight. I had lost 0.4 pound this week. Last week was 168 even. Now I'm 167.6 as of this morning. As of Monday, I made a video. Actually, I was going to post this video on Monday because I had started doing the pouch test, and I was even going to throw in an extra video because I never do videos. You know how I am during the week. So I had a different agenda that I was going to talk about today, but and the video that I made Monday, I had made when I was out walking at lunch and reporting the pouch test that I was working on liquids for that day, and then I also reported on the weather, how we were expecting some weather that evening, and but I never did post that video because. If you didn't already know, and you might not have, but I live in Moore, Oklahoma. And I think everybody now pretty much knows where Moore, Oklahoma is. And if you don't, then you haven't turned the TV on or seen a newspaper in the last few days. So yeah, Monday we had this detrimental tornado go through our town again. Let's see. My neighborhood, I'm going to give you my story, how this all happened, what happened with us, and the history of where I live and stuff. But the neighborhood that I live in, we watched. And I grew up in this neighborhood, and I bought my house in this neighborhood not too far from my parents, a couple blocks away, because my mother was sick at the time. So I've lived in this neighborhood basically my whole life, right? So my whole life, no tornadoes, never ever a threat of one. But May 3rd of 1999, we had that big F5 tornado, that we've all heard about for all these years. And we watched it go by. And that it destroyed the end of our neighborhood. So it hit us probably 4 or 5 blocks away is where it was the edge of the destruction. So we were that close to that tornado. Well, I think it was in 2003. It was May in 2003 again. We had another tornado go through, and we watched it go by, and it hit. Because that 2 or 3 blocks on the May 3rd tornado was north of us. Well, this tornado in 2003 was about 4 or 5 blocks south of us. So we're watching tornadoes north and south of us within, in our neighborhood. So this tornado that we had on Monday was a little bit further south. It was about half a mile south of where I live. I was at work up at the state capitol building, which that's about 11 miles north of Moore, of my home. And my husband was at home that day, and he's a meteorologist lover. He's almost a storm chaser. He's got certification, all this. He wants to get out there. But he watches enough tornadoes around our house, that he knows what's going on the news, and he watches all the weather stuff. So he knew something big was happening that day. And we had just recently in February of this year, had a storm cellar or storm shelter built into our sorry, there's like weird traffic going on. Oh, things are weird in this town right now. VIP buses at this hotel. Anyway, we had a storm shelter, one of those that's in the garage. It's flat on the floor of the garage, and you have little steps that you can step down into it, and you slide the metal door over your head, and you're protected. You have a car kind of over you. and everything's all registered with the city, the GPS stats, where they can find you if you have, because you have to have that permit before you can get that built. So that's why a lot of the homes that were, they had pulled out 100 some odd people from storm shelters, because they're all GPS located. They're all on GPS, and they're all, if the house is on top of them, they were digging them out. So my husband's at home, and I'm on the phone with him, watching the weather on the computer, watching the newscast, and he has already put the cat in its crate and down in the shelter, and put Ruby in there too, and she calmed Miss Kitty by sitting next to her in the shelter. He said it was really nice. They were really comforting each other. Sorry. And so he's down in the shelter. He's collected all this, anything that he needed to. He's down in there, and I'm on the phone with him, and he is giving me step by step of what's going on outside. I'm giving him, reports of what I'm seeing on the radio or on the computer from our news station, and it was just fear. It was just weird that he was like, it's like the lights are starting to dim now. They'll, start dropping, and it's like, the lights are dropping again, and I can hear it. Can you hear it? And it was just really surreal to hear him say that, But just the peace of mind, knowing that my family, my animals, and my husband was in that shelter was worth everything in the world. I mean, just knowing that if my house was gone, they were going to be alive. And that was so nice. That was amazingly wonderful. So I'm talking to him the whole time, and then he's reporting, the lights are starting to lose power. And I wasn't on the cell phone with him because I couldn't get through on cell phones at that time. Towers were getting knocked over and stuff. And then he was listening. He's like, listen to that. And I could even hear it. And he's like, this time it does sound like a freight train. Because before, he said it didn't. I don't know the freight train sound, because I didn't hear that before. But yeah, he said, and I could hear it too. And and then all of a sudden the power was gone, and we lost each other on the phone. And that's a terrifying feeling, not knowing what's going on. But at least I knew that God was watching over them, and I knew that they were in that shelter, so I was okay. So that's when I started packing my things up and heading home myself, knowing that tornado would have been gone by the time I got home, so I could dig him out of, lift the house off of him and rescue him. But anyway, it took me a long time to get home, of course, because all the power ended up, that's the long story of it. But he was fine. The tornado, he listened to it as it went by. And we are pretty much directly north, about half a mile, of the 2 elementary schools that you've been hearing about on the news. We're right in the middle of where, north, they're south of us. One's to the west a couple blocks, one's to the east a couple blocks. So they were right. I know exactly where they are. They're real close. I passed by that area every day. I grew up in Moore, so this devastation that has destroyed my town is, the May 3rd tornado was one thing. It destroyed so much, but this one destroyed, I want to say, 5 times the amount of what it destroyed the last big tornado. And I know many people that lived in those areas, and I haven't heard from. They did post a list of people's names of the victims that died, and I didn't see anyone that I knew. Thank goodness, that I knew, but I didn't like seeing the list, and there's too many 9-year-olds on that list of the children. So anyway, we ended up losing electricity. The whole town basically did. We all did, all in South Oklahoma City. I think Monica was just north of the line that had power. We lost water because I guess the water plant got hit. But they got it repaired, and we saw yesterday, within 24 hours, they had the power back on, which the first tornado, the May 3rd tornado, it took almost a week before we got power. But this one here, they had the power back on within 24 hours, and the water plant was fixed, and we had water within, you know, just that afternoon, yesterday afternoon. So we didn't suffer at all. I mean, my home was spared. God watched over us. He had his reasons for that. My brother lives in the same neighborhood. He lives in my parents' old house, and his family, and they were safe because he had picked up the kids from school, and they were there. So they weren't there at the time of the tornado. My niece and nephew were at school, and schools held them all until their parents came and got them, so they were safe. So God has watched over and protected my family, and I couldn't be more thankful. I just keep praying and ask everyone to keep praying, and we all are praying and helping as much as we can to these victims that are, you know, dealing with this tragedy. I have a coworker that lost her home. I found out today that her home wasn't demolished. It was and her grandson, her 5-year-old grandson, was at Plaza Towers Elementary School whenever it hit. He was fine. But her daughter and grandson live with her, so they were all at work. But her house was not demolished, and I was worried of that because she has cats and the animals. It just breaks my heart, the animals too that were affected. So anyway, it's like another another life-changing event that I have dodged once again. My guardian angels have been working overtime my life. I'm telling you, I was in the next door, just the building north in the General Record building during the Oklahoma City bombing. And after that, I had dodged tornadoes because I had headed to Texas, and there were storms around us and tornadoes around us later on, I found out, and I was close to getting hit then. And all these tornadoes, I've always been on the outskirts of all these tragedies, and God has some reason that He wants me to be here still and to keep carrying on. So I have a purpose, I guess. So anyway, that's pretty much all that's been going on in my week. Of course, my 5-day pouch test didn't happen. I started eating what I could, or the diet I was just eating just to feel the hunger, and I wasn't concentrating on anything, haven't exercised, so I'm trying to get back to a normalcy. But I've gone on 13 minutes now. Thank you guys for watching and for praying for more, and for your thoughts and your concerns for me and for everyone in my town. This is my hometown, and I love my town, and I hate to see this, but it will rebuild, and it'll handle another one if we get another one. So bring it on. So anyway, love you guys. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.